Hey everyone, Brandon here, and although I would really start with an introduction or something like that, I have two movies to review and I have little time to do it, so please forgive me for that. And so, this is my review on The Santa Claus 2 and The Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause. Now, both films are very successful sequels to the 1994 classic The Santa Claus, which I reviewed last year. Let's start with The Santa Claus 2. It's been 8 years since Scott Calvin, played by Tim Allen, has been Santa Claus, and he enjoys his job. However, that may all be put in jeopardy after Bernard, the head elf, and the new elf, Curtis, tells him that there's a certain rule that Santa forgot to look when he first got that card from the first movie. It's now time that Santa must find a Mrs. Claus, meaning that he has to get married. But he has to get married before Christmas Day. If not, he'll slowly start losing his magic and stop being Santa Claus altogether. While Scott goes out to look for a wife, Curtis builds a toy Santa to take his place while he's gone. However, this toy Santa becomes accustomed to his new job and decides that every other kid in the world is naughty and deserves coal for this year's Christmas. So will he find a Mrs. Claus, or will this Christmas Day just end badly? The first time I saw a trailer for Santa Claus 2, I didn't really know what to think. I never expected them to make a sequel to this film, and also it looks so different from the first film, so, I thought it would be good, but I just wasn't really interested in it at the time. But thankfully, I'm glad I saw this film because it was great. It's a worthy sequel to the Santa Claus. Everyone here is on their A game. Tim Allen as Scott Calvin. In the first film, he was kind of dark, kind of gloomy, kind of always mad, but here, he's joyous, he loves his job as Santa, and that's great. Eric Lloyd returns as Charlie, his son, only this time he's a teenager, and in some sort of rebellious streak for some reason. Bernard, of course, is here as the kind of head elf who's always stuck up about his job, and I like the addition of Curtis, kind of the young elf who's learning from Bernard. The Santa Claus 2 has an interesting storyline. When I first heard about the sequel, I was thinking that, Scott will lose his job as Santa or something and has to get it back somehow. But here, the idea of finding a Mrs. Claus is pulled off well. It's pulled off just great. And also, I like the new antagonist of the film, which is the toy Santa. He doesn't come off as this giant evil bad guy, but he's pulled off as just this really confused toy. The only real problems I have to say with this movie is that it separates itself a lot from the first film. It doesn't have the same feeling that the first film did, but it sometimes does. And also, it can be a little bit goofy at times, and you'll know it when you see it, especially in dealing with the reindeer. But overall, Santa Claus 2 is definitely a worthy sequel to the first Santa Claus, and I recommend that everyone who loves the first film definitely check out the sequel. You won't be disappointed. Alright, now to move on to The Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause. Again, this follows Scott Calvin living his life as Santa Claus and with his new wife, Mrs. Claus, who are expecting a newborn baby soon. However, the stresses of being Santa Claus is falling on Scott, and it doesn't help that the Mrs. Claus's in-laws have come to visit them. And it definitely doesn't help when Jack Frost is brought into the picture. Jack Frost is angry with Santa Claus because he's getting all the recognition on Christmas, and Jack Frost doesn't get anything. It's then when the idea of the escape clause is brought up, which is basically the exit route for any Santa Claus who wishes not to be Santa Claus anymore. Jack tricks Scott into using the escape clause and ends up taking his place as the brand new Santa Claus. So, will Scott be able to stop Jack, or will Christmas be ruined forever? Before I say something, I would just like to say that I've heard so many terrible things about this film. I've heard so many things that critics said, and it doesn't help that this film was nominated for Worst Remake or Sequel in the Razzie Awards, which are given to the worst movies of the year. But I will say that I'm not going to completely agree with everything that the critics say about this film. This is an okay sequel, but I can see why so many people have a problem with it. To start with the negative stuff, this film, I believe, doesn't come anywhere close than what the Santa Claus 2 did. The Santa Claus 2 was a great sequel, but this film barely comes close to what that film did. And also, it just feels rushed. This entire film just feels rushed. It's like they want to get this movie over with as fast as possible. There's not even a build-up to Jack Frost. He just comes onto the scene like, "Hi, I'm going to be the evil bad guy for this movie." And also, it seems that some of the characters I'm missing. Now, I'm not talking about Bernard. He's not in the movie at all, but that's due to a contract issue. But I'm talking about Charlie. Charlie's barely seen in this movie. Hello, it's not like he's a side character or anything. He was in the first two movies as, the main kid. I understand that this is the point of view of Lucy, his little sister, but still. That being said, this film doesn't deserve all the backlash it gets. Martin Short, he's great as Jack Frost. I liked him. And I'm only saying this because I like Martin Short, and the last film I ever saw him in was in another Tim Allen film called Jungle to Jungle, and he was hilarious there. And I also like the idea of bringing in Scott's ex-wife, her husband, and Lucy and Charlie, and Mrs. Claus's in-laws into the whole North Pole thing. They get more involved into Scott's life as Santa Claus in this. But just the idea of Jack Frost taking over and becoming new Santa Claus, it would have been great to see how this would be resolved, how this all figure out, but it just isn't pulled off well in this movie. I mean, it isn't. It felt that they just want to get this out as soon as possible and just didn't care if it was as good as the second film or try to make it as good as the second film. So this is definitely for the fans only. If you're a fan of the first and second Santa Claus, then definitely check this film out, but you might be disappointed with its outcome. Overall, even though I don't like how this film franchise ended, I still love watching these films during the holiday season. I mean, they're fun to watch, and if you haven't watched any of the Santa Clauses, please do check them out. They're good family fun. And so I'd like to thank you all for watching this review. I would like to thank Heweyewis for the request that he actually made about a year ago. I apologize for having to wait till next Christmas to see these reviews, and I apologize if you do not exactly agree with what I think about these films. I mean, second film, really good sequel. Third film, not so much. And with that, I only have one more review to go before Christmas arrives, and I'll see you all next time.
Give me a status report.
Your pants are on fire.
Yes, they are.